welcome to our next webinar on CTE. Happy CTE month. It's 2022. I'm Mike Schloff, founder and CEO of Maple Woodshop, and I'm very happy to be joined here by Tom Sommers, the training director for the Northeast Carpenters Training Fund, as well as Joe Youcha, who's the founder of Building to Teach, and has made incredible progress in helping youth learn math using practical methods. Here at Maple Woodshop, our mission is to help all children develop life skills through woodworking, and we achieve that by helping schools and camps around the country help children discover the intelligence in their hands by providing portable, safe, and easy to implement woodworking programs. And so we're really thrilled to be in partnership with these two fine people and the organizations they represent. So to start, I'd like to ask each of them to introduce themselves. And Tom, if we start with you, and maybe you could tell us about what you do now and also your experience in the trades.
I sure would like to do that. My name is Tom Sommers. I am the Director of Outreach and Development for the Northeast Carpenters. And the map behind me is our territory that it covers the whole Northeast. And part of my job currently is to make pathways into the Carpenters Union by promoting our Careers Connections program, along with Mike Schloff's program that he's so wonderfully put together in conjunction with ours. And by doing so, it gives the students a valued process in which they will be able to apply to the Carpenters Union and hopefully successfully enter as a registered apprentice. So we're looking forward to the future work that we're doing and our relationship with Maple Wood Shops. Thank you, Mike.
And Tom? And Joe, sorry.
Hi, I'm Joe Youcha, and as Mike said, I run something called Building to Teach, and what I do is I train hands-on math instructors. The idea is that math is that building is the historic use of math, and so why don't we teach math in that context? I do a lot of work with the Wooden Boat Builders. Network of Wooden Boat Builders, the Teaching with Small Boats Alliance, about 150 organizations around the country. I also do a lot of work with the United Brotherhood of Carpenters, which is the Carpenters Union, who Tommy also represents. I help develop their math training materials, and I train their math instructors. My background is that I was trained as a restoration carpenter in New York City. And I was also trained as a wooden boat builder. And combining both of those things with a degree in history has made for a very interesting life.
Definitely. And Tom, do you want to maybe give a little bit about your history in the trades?
Absolutely. I went to a vocational school in the state of New Jersey. I took up carpentry and had 2 years of mill cabinet work. When I completed my course there and graduated high school, I started in a place called RCA, Radio Corporation of America in Camden, as an in-house carpenter. And that too was also part of a trade union. It was an in-house shop, and I worked there for currently about 10 years. And then unfortunately, RCA decided to go out of business and move their divisions elsewhere. So that led me to approaching the Carpenters Union. So I became a fourth-year apprentice when I was at the age of around 27 years old, 28 years old. And it's been valuable, even though I had a tremendous amount of history behind being a carpenter. I still learned so much more because it was a different world being a union carpenter in the commercial world. So I did my 4 years of apprenticeship. And as I went through the apprenticeship, they saw value in what I had to share with other students as I went through my apprenticeship. They asked me to be an instructor. I instructed for the Carpenters Union 2 nights a week and every other Saturday for 10 years. And doing so, I still worked with my tools during the day, still made a living, but I was able to give back to my organization, which was a valuable asset to me in a lot of ways. Because after I had that 10 years of skill on the job of being foreman, job superintendents, and working with my hands, they asked me to be the training director for the facility of the apprenticeship program. I ran the training center in Hamilton, New Jersey for over 20 years. After that 20-year span, then they approached me and asked me if I would be the director of outreach development. I have two sons that are in the Carpenters Union. One is a carpenter at a local 255, and the other is a union millwright at a local 715. As we go forward, you'll learn about more of the crafts under the carpenter's umbrella, because working with your tools as a carpenter, there's many crafts involved in our trade. And we'll get into that further. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And so let's see, and Joe, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about pre-apprenticeships and a little bit more about math for the trades and training foundations.
Sure. So as I had mentioned, I ran a pre-apprenticeship in a wooden boat shop in Alexandria, Virginia for about 18 years, the Alexandria Seaport Foundation. And we were a certified pre-apprenticeship for the union, and the union was very helpful to us. And what we in turn could help the union with was in developing their math curriculum, their math training materials. They liked the way that we taught math hands-on in the shop, because the student never had to ask, when am I ever going to use this? Because they needed to know it yesterday because of what we were doing today. So that led to helping the carpenters develop their math materials, the math for the trades, and then that also led to me lately working more with the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters and helping them set up pre-apprenticeships throughout the region. So the map behind Tom represents Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, a piece in North Carolina, I think, and Puerto Rico. So the Carpenters Union is now setting up pre-apprenticeship programs in a lot of those communities to, again, provide this pipeline or pathway for people who are interested to enter the union. It's a chance for, yes, it's a chance to gain skills, to learn, to make sure that you're good reading a tape measure, to be able to swing a hammer, to be able to get the right tool from the box when your journeyman asks you to do that. But that's all the what you know. A lot of what happens in the pre-apprenticeship is you learn who. You get to work at the training centers with journeymen, with the instructors, and you get to know the people that you're going to be working with. And what you see in pre-apprenticeship programs all over is then those pre-apprenticeships get to see themselves in those positions doing that work. And that's just wonderful. So yes, I've been involved in pre-apprenticeship training, the math training, and also a lot of it is instructor training as well.
That's great. That's great. And I want to turn over to now some bigger questions around what is maybe Tom, if you'd like to start with this. What does a career in the building trades look like today?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of opportunities. We come from an aging group, and our average age is 47 years old in that whole district you see behind us. And of course, in New Jersey, it's a little bit older. It's actually 52. So we're going to be looking at pretty much replacing our total workforce in the next few years, because our average members can retire at 55. So there's going to be tremendous amount of opportunity. There's a lot of projects coming up, offshore wind projects, the Blue Works, which I'll let Mr. Yucha talk about in detail, but it's the rising sea level and all the infrastructure and things that have to be taken into consideration and replaced and revisited. So the workload is going to be enormous, especially with the highways. A lot of our bridges are collapsing and falling down. So the amount of money that's going to be coming out of Washington for these projects is astronomical. Actually, I don't even have a right number to even give you, but we're told it's quite a bit of money. So between all that, the aging membership, the workload that's coming out, we're going to be hiring quite a few people. So the chances are that you're going to get into the Carpenters Union is a very good one, actually, as well as one thing you must understand, this is a career. This isn't just a job. Along with these packages that they're constantly working with the contractors that hire us, they're developing better pay scales. They're developing better hospitalization and health packages. They're developing annuities and pensions so you'll be able to retire with a dignity and a good wage when you get older. So keep that all in mind. But that there's a lot of advancement. There's a lot of things to accomplish.
Joe, is there anything you want to add to that?
Sure. I mean, I was, I want to reinforce what Tommy just said about it being a career, not just a job, because the work is going to be there. The type of work is just going to be changing and growing and expanding. And what's wonderful about the Carpenters Union is that the Carpenters Union will train you for that work. As the work changes, as the technology changes, you'll get the training. The carpenters will get trained, whether they're apprentices or whether they finish their apprenticeship and they're journeymen and are getting journeyman upgrades. You get college credits for it. I mean, Tommy can talk more about that, but it really is a career, and it's gonna change and get more advanced over time. I mean, when Tommy and I started out in the late 70s, early 80s, nobody brought a calculator on the job. It was too expensive. You just wouldn't risk it. Nowadays, one of the big problems on a job site is that you don't have enough bandwidth to drive the computer models that you're building off of, or the robots that are the programmable robots that you have to operate to do the layout. So the job has totally changed in our working lifetime. It takes half as many pile drivers to do a job now as it did 20 years ago. Why? Because of the technology. They're using lasers, they're using GPS, they're running sophisticated equipment. And they're taught how to do it again through the union, which is wonderful. So I really wanted to reinforce that. And as far as the work that's coming down the pike, yeah, we have all the infrastructure, all the highways and bridges and all of that's traditional. But as Tommy mentioned, the offshore wind. I was just on a phone call yesterday with one of the people from MARAD, which is the Federal Maritime Administration. They're saying that they're going to need 22,000 workers by 2030. So that's 8 years from now. They're going to need 22,000 workers in order to implement the offshore wind projects that are already on the books. That's an awful lot of workers. Now, not all of them will be union carpenters, but a good portion of them will be. And that's new work. That's work that the union contractors aren't doing now. So those are additional slots. So those are additional people. Those are additional opportunities. And that's a huge thing. And then again, over the end of our lifetimes, but for somebody who's in middle school now, the the majority of their lifetime, we're going to be dealing with the effects of climate change and that it has on water and how we deal with that. Whether it's sea level rise, when, I think, some staggering percentage of this country's population lives in counties that are affected by tide. So just think about what Superstorm Sandy did to the East Coast and did to Lower Manhattan. So there's a lot of that remediation work and prevention work is going to be done by union carpenters. And again, it's going to be new technology. It's going to be very exciting work to be doing.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's changed so much, and it's always changing. And so, let's talk about skills. What are so can you kind of maybe break them down by hard,
Sure.
soft skills?
I mean, sure. I mean, I guess I'll start. Some of it is, so as a trainer, right? You look at how are you going to train somebody in, in 2022 for work that, if they're a 20-year-old apprentice, for work that they're going to be doing in 2052. And the answer is, on the technology, we can't, because we have no idea what that technology is really going to grow into. But what we can do with our training now is we can help build somebody who's going to be able to keep on learning throughout their career, so that when it gets to be 2052, they're still at the top of their game. And the way that we do that is by building their foundational knowledge and the way that they work and the way that they learn is just as important as what they're actually learning now. So, that's why I focus on math. Math is absolutely fundamental to everything that gets built. And it doesn't matter if, you're running a total station machine to give you angles and distances and everything like that, and it's spitting out the numbers and you're programming it. But if you're just totally relying on that machine and it's giving you garbage numbers and you don't understand the math that it's doing for you and you can't check it, you're never going to know that those are garbage numbers, and you're going to lay out that building incorrectly. And that's a huge amount of money that just went down the drain. So to answer your question, I think that we're teaching foundational skills, we're teaching how to learn, and we're training not just the workers of the future, but the learners of the future, because that's what they're going to need to be.
Great.
And
I'd like to add that.
yeah,
The successful person is going to be the person that was willing to continue to learn, experience the things that Joe just mentioned, the total station, the new technology. And if you're such an individual that would like to learn, we're the right craft for you, because we constantly upgrade and develop new technologies, new training aids, and want our members to succeed. One of the things when I was a training director, I used to tell the young apprentices, you're going to get by really well in this craft if you just keep three things in mind: attitude, effort, and brains. Pretty much in that order too. If you've got the right attitude, you're going to go far in this business. You show the effort, the contractor is going to want to keep you on board, and you're going to have a fruitful career. The brains, that's the technology part of it. We'll teach you that. So by doing those three things, pretty much in that order, you will succeed in this business, pretty much. Unless something like COVID falls in our lap again. But other than that, you surely will have a fruitful career.
That's great.
I mean, we can talk about it if we want to do education speak or workforce speak. We can say 21st century skills. We can say the 4 C's for, communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. We can say whatever we want, but we can call them whatever we want. But they're really interpersonal employability skills. You've got to you got to show up on the job. You got to be there early so that you're creating work, you're not costing work, and you got to be decent to get along with, and you got to be willing to learn. And if you can be those things, then you're absolutely going to succeed.
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of some of the everything you need to learn. You learned in kindergarten, at least in terms of the interpersonal.
Yeah, if you were not does not play well with others, when you're out on the job, you're working as part of a team. Your life depends on others, and others' lives depend on you. It really is that simple.
It's impressive. It's impressive, and it's nice to see. I think there's a deep-seated human need to work with others and build with others, and I always think about middle schoolers, and of course with COVID, how isolated and sort of people's resiliency reserves have been used up to a large extent, and so it's something where it's not just a trade; it can also be therapeutic. It can be something where you can really it speaks to something very, very deep-seated within all humans, I believe.
Well, the union, is called the brotherhood, and there's a sisterhood within the union, and really, I get to observe it, somewhat from the outside, and it's really a community, and these folks take care of one another. This has nothing to do with the training that we're talking about, but I was out in Las Vegas at the International Training Center, and there was a fellow there, a union member he was from the West Coast, but it happened to be a Midwest conference. So all the people from the Midwest were there. And this guy's son was going to be driving from like upper Minnesota down to, I think, Nashville, Tennessee. And there was a huge storm coming through, a big ice and snowstorm. There was a union member set up like every 100 miles for that kid. He didn't know it. But if he broke down and called his dad, there was somebody that was going to go out and get him in the middle of the snowstorm.
That's
right?
impressive.
It's totally true story, but that really is the community that you're joining.
You're going to meet a lot of people in your apprenticeship and through your whole career that you're going to just strike up a relationship with, because there's a lot of common thoughts, a lot of commonality in what you like. If you like working outdoors, there's always fishing and hunting, other activities. But in my course in time, you mentioned something on the job, you're working side by side with these guys all day. And I never thought to ask anybody, but people would just ask, you need help? I'll come over. So, I put a garage up, my sons and I I had other union guys come on the job and help me put the sheetrock up, hang the doors, do things of that nature. And it was just like, this becomes part of the whole working process. You're going to meet different guys, and the next job you go on, there'll be a different group of guys, maybe some of the same, but you're going to get to meet so many people in the course of your career. One of the things that you're always going to have is a sense of pride. You're going to be able to look at that job, step back and say, wow, I worked on that. That's really awesome. But now you got bragging rights, because now you can take your family, you can take your sons, your daughters, your grandkids, and go and say, hey, Dad worked on that bridge. I was there for such and such a time. I said, what a great experience. I remember all these guys. I had a good time on that job, made good money too. And it's something you can point the finger at, something that's going to be there long after you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that you're going to be doing that you're going to build a legacy in its own self. You can
Yeah,
be part
you
of.
always know what you did at the end of the day. It's not like sitting in front of a computer and you press send and it goes off into the ether somewhere and you don't know whether it had any effect. You know what you did every day.
It's an accomplishment.
That's great. Hey, so let's work backwards now, and let's start maybe early, and thinking about like middle school, and what would you say, for example, to the parents of a sixth grader?
Well, I would say is, college is not the end all and be all. That going through our apprenticeship program is a very rewarding thing. But not only that, by going through our apprenticeship program, when you walk out, you'll receive 34 college credits for attending our registered apprentice program for 4 years. And you can actually, we're in actually have a program with Thomas Edison State University that you will actually have a college program offered to you free of charge to get a AA degree in construction technology. And this was brought on by a grant from the Department of Labor of the state of New Jersey. It's called NJ Place 2.0. So your college is not unheard of. You're actually going to have college credits and still be a union tradesperson. When your son or daughter go through our program and walk out the door, they're not going to have any college debt. They're going to walk out the door and after 4 years making around $100,000 a year. So would you rather have your students or your children get out of a 4-year program owing 200,000 or making 100,000? There's a big difference in that. So these are some of the things that I would like to point out to the parents of these potential union apprentices. It's not the same world it was before. It's not just a trade union, because we want our members to actually excel. So if a contractor wants to take that individual and bring him into the actual organization of his personal business and become a course estimator, a job superintendent, they may need some college and career background, and we're offering that now,
Yeah.
part of our program.
I mean,
Great.
Mike, I would love to sit down with every parent of a sixth grader and say, I just want to know if you want to talk about this later, but if your child can graduate high school with a purpose at 18, spend the next 4 years making over $250,000, earning their associate's degree debt-free, and have the ability and already be making $100,000 a year. At the age of 22, they're making $100,000 a year. They're debt-free. They have their associate's degree. Is that something you'd like to talk about? Is that an opportunity that you think that you'd like to consider with your child if they're interested? And I'd leave it at that, because I can't imagine most parents in today's world not at least wanting to explore that possibility.
I agree. I mean, look, and those are, what I'm hearing are things that are sort of rational arguments for kids who are students who might be in 12th grade, and thinking about what's next. But if we keep going upstream, by 12th grade, that might be a little late. And
It's
so,
too late.
if we were to go, when do you think would be the right time to introduce the concepts, and how would you phrase it to some other age group?
Again, for me, I'm going back to sixth grade. I'm going back into middle school. And, the last thing that you want to do is you don't want to, what used to be called track a kid. You don't want to say, hey, you should go into the trades. No, that's not what we're talking about. This is an opportunity where they can really have a pathway to taking care of their responsibilities, taking care of their families, and have an interesting career. And so you at least want to expose them to it and figure out, that kid should have the opportunity to figure out, are they somebody who likes building things? Do they think visually? Do they like working together on a team to make a project happen? Those are all things that they can start figuring out when they're in middle school. And if they do like those things, then they should know about these opportunities.
Right. And that's a universal message. Tom, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I have to agree with Joe. If we could point out to the sixth and seventh graders that the career paths that are available to them, to actually get started in a program such as the Carpenters Union, and to work when you're young, you can build on the college, you can build on your other careers, so you can make career changes down the road. But we've given you an excellent start. You've come into our program. Not saying that you have to be a career person such as myself. I mean, I have 36 years in as a union carpenter. But now going forward, I could have choose other career paths as well. I could have went and worked, as a course estimator. There's a lot of things we could have done. But they have to learn at an early age options. What are your options? What could I potentially be in life? And I think the key, Joe hit it on the head, is reaching them in sixth and seventh grade. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, we want to basically ask them, would you rather build a skateboard ramp, or would you rather raise the money for buying a skateboard ramp? And if you'd rather raise the money for buying a skateboard ramp, go into business. But if you'd rather build one, you might want to think about what we're talking about a career in the trades.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I ran a pre-apprenticeship for 18 years. So many of our graduates started out and did their apprenticeship, and then their companies paid for them to keep on going to school, and they became registered engineers. They're mechanical engineers now, running big jobs for big companies.
Let me challenge you a little bit. It seems so obvious. So, I want to explore what's getting in the way. Like, what do we say to the guidance counselors, to the principals? What's the message to them to help them realize that it's not, what they thought of back in the 70s and 80s?
Tommy, you want to take that one? You want to start it?
Well, back in the 70s and 80s, I get where they were driving at. There was a lot of opportunities, but those opportunities kind of turned into non-opportunities because there were so many people flooding the market in those different career paths. So college is not preparing you for a job. The Carpenters Union is. The apprenticeship program, that's exactly what they're geared to do. So when you move forward and go down these other career paths with colleges, what are your options once you graduate college? You still have to learn that skill. You still have to be trained. So most companies that you go to work for, you're going to start at the rock bottom, and you're going to have to still spend some kind of a program to learn your craft wherever you go. And going forward, you're still in college debt. So I would say to the counselors, what service are you doing by pushing college as hard as you are? Not everybody's meant to be college material. And they can still choose college as a pathway and still go through and earn a decent living and get a good start with the trade union.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, then it's the idea of, like, for the teachers and the superintendents, what are your thoughts about possible ways that schools could integrate CTE into existing curriculum? What might be some simple ways to think about it?
And from my experience, again, I run a program that trains hands-on math instructors, and we have, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 instructors who use this program around the country. And, so math is an obvious thing. I've rarely run into a school system that says that they're happy with the way that they're teaching math, and that all their students are succeeding in math and know how to use it, know its application, and are able to use it practically. So for me, math is an easy one. There's nothing that teaches the practical application of math as well or better than the building process. So I think that's an easy one. And you can build, again, those 4 C's: communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking. Again, they get classified as 21st century skills now, and schools are really trying to teach them to make their students job ready. And nothing teaches those skills, and nothing provides opportunities for assessing those skills better than hands-on group projects. And so, this is also something that the Carpenters Union has developed. They can do assessments for those skills in group settings. It's part of working out in the field, and it doesn't matter if you're assessing a group of journeymen out on a high rise, or if you're assessing a group of middle schoolers. In a CTE classroom. So I think there's lots of opportunity for integrating hands-on projects into the schools, and then the projects that they build. I mean, Mike, I see you've got a cigar box guitar in the background there. Music is such a wonderful vehicle for teaching, whether you're teaching history, whether you're teaching English, anything like that. And if kids can build their own guitars and then learn local history and write songs about it, boy, you're hitting all your bases all at once. And guess what? They're going to learn a lot of math too. And so, I get, to go back just a little bit to what Tommy was saying earlier, I get it, that the yardstick, the measurement for success in our culture is attending 4-year college. That's how people are, that's how the success of a school is graded. That's how the success of guidance counselors are graded. I get that. But I think that we need to change that some, and really look at what success means for a kid. And I get the issues around, that you don't want to deny any kid the opportunity to go to college and to succeed in life. If that's, and we totally agree with that. But success in life, there are other pathways to success in life other than a 4-year degree, right at starting when you're 18. The average completion age for I believe the average completion age for community college in this country is like 38. Mm-hmm. So, we're a country of adult learners, and we should acknowledge that.
That's great. I think, everything's evolving. Education's tricky. Healthcare is tricky. It's big, a lot of institutional resistance, and a lot of well-meaning people, and it's ironic, and everyone's cognizant, yet we struggle as a society to evolve. Yet we see it in pockets, charter schools, some public schools. There's a lot of innovation happening out there, which is very heartening.
Right.
And we're excited to be a part of it. I guess I was wondering if you have a couple minutes, Joe and Tom. We've got a couple of questions from the audience. So one question is, how does camaraderie contribute to confidence in your trade? Try and use only C words for answer. Alliteration's everything.
Tommy, you want to take that?
Well, how does camaraderie, say that again, please?
Yeah, it's really, it's a great question. It's how does camaraderie contribute to confidence in one's trade? The idea of that teamwork. How does teamwork build confidence is how I'm reading it.
Well, that's one of the things that we've always did down at our apprentice training centers. We've built projects as a group. So you get to understand and develop the next person's move. I had did a small project just recently, and I had 2 union carpenters helping me. And there was one person there observing what we were doing. And they just said, you guys hardly talked. The camaraderie between the 2 of you, the understanding of what the next person's move was was almost flawless. You saw and understood what the next individual needed. Somebody was cutting something, somebody was hammering something, somebody was screwing something together, and it all fit. And when it came out, it was perfect. And how did you guys accomplish that? And we said, because we're used to working with one another. You build that confidence level that you become union, because everybody is striving to create a project. We're working together and everybody wants to contribute. You know, you're not only getting paid for this, this is also becomes ingrained in you as part of being a union carpenter. Your skill levels, your ability, your forward thinking, these are all nurtured and brought out into the process of and creating the camaraderie that we have. You know, I've gone to a lot of parties where there's a mixed bag of people, and by the end of the night, all the carpenters are standing in the corner talking. It's pretty much the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, and you can build so much more as a team than you can as an individual. And so, you know, I'll take that question back to boat building. You know, and you build a 42-foot boat. It takes a team of people to do that. And so we would do this. We would do that size boat with young people, and they couldn't have done it. No individual could do that on their own. But to each one of those individuals, it was still their boat. And for years later, I would get, "How's my boat doing?" You know, I'd get asked, "How's my boat doing?" Now, they were one of maybe 30, 40 people that worked on that boat, but it was their boat.
Hmm. That's powerful. It's like one divided by 30 is still 30.
Yeah, it's there.
So it's still one. That's beautiful.
One. Yep.
One last one, folks, is what's one piece of advice you would give to someone considering a CTE program for their students? What one piece of advice would you give to an administrator?
Well, look for somebody that's going to support a curriculum. There is a lot of schools that are approaching us now that are actually starting their CTE programs. They've lost their shop programs over the years, and they're actually trying to develop a program. So our UBC, which stands for United Brotherhood of Carpenters, has developed a program called Careers Connections. And we're one of the few crafts that actually have developed such a program. And it's basically designed to enhance a CTE program to its fullest. It's basically encompasses juniors and seniors. It's in a set of books that covers everything. It covers your safety aspects. It covers your hands-on training. It covers your power tools, your understanding of nomenclature and verbiage of communications in the carpentry world. And it also gives them, by using that program, gives them advanced standings in order to come into our Carpenters Apprenticeship program. So there's a lot of information out there about Careers Connections, and moving forward, you know, would be a great asset to a CTE program that's wanting to start a shop class again. We'd be more than happy to help with any of that process.
Great, thank you. Joe, what's one
sure.
you would give?
Same question, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, for my nickel, if I were looking at developing a CTE program, I'd look at the jobs. Where are those students going to go when they finish that program? Because that's the objective. That's the goal of the program. That's the stake in the ground that all the kids are working towards. And it's a common stake. All the kids are working towards that. All the teachers are working towards that. The community partners are working towards that. And even if the kid isn't going to go and do that job, just by having that stake in the ground that has healthcare, pension, annuity, a good living wage, even if they don't get it in that discipline, so if carpentry, even if they don't become a union carpenter, they're going to have that expectation in their head that wherever they go, they should be having those elements: the annuity, the pension, the healthcare, the good wages. and that in turn will put them on a path towards a good life. So I really, if a CTE program doesn't have that stake in the ground, that goal, it doesn't really matter. It's got to have that objective, and that will in turn direct the whole program, give the whole program direction, so that if I were to walk into that CTE program and ask a kid, why are you here? I'd get an answer. If I ask the instructor, why are these kids here? What are they learning from you? Why? I'll get an answer. If I were to ask an administrator, why did you suggest that this kid take this, or guidance counselor, why did you suggest that this kid take this program? I'd get an answer. And if the program's done right, I'd be getting some flavor of the same answer from all those people saying, it's that job. It's that job. Or this is what I like to do. But it's that type of work. And they're all going to have that common goal in mind. And that just makes it tremendously successful. In my experience, that makes for a tremendously successful program.
That's great. Well, thank you both so much. That's great insights. Appreciate all the people who attended. There's going to be many more who will hear this online. And, I've been sort of moderator, but I'll also add that we agree and here at Maple Woodshop, we believe woodworking is a great place to start because it's easy to implement. You can do it at young ages, and you can have these children discover this intelligence in their hands, spark that curiosity in 6th grade, so that they can start to be aware of all these benefits and opportunities that are ahead of them, whether it's with the carpenters, whether it's with a different group, whether it's becoming an engineer, but that they appreciate the tactile world, which we're, again, as a society moving away from. So we're all about helping people re-engage with each other, with the real world, and provide opportunities as a result. So thank you both so much for your thoughts and your time, and we look forward to hearing what comes of this. So thanks again. Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.